I pushed the door open, already tired from the day. My bag was heavy on my shoulder, my feet sore from standing too long. All I wanted was silence, my couch, maybe a little food, and nothing else. But when I stepped into my apartment, the silence I was craving wasn't there. The TV was blasting, and the smell of pizza filled the air. Then I saw him. Marcus, my younger brother. He was lying back on my couch like he owned it, shoes still on, a soda can in his hand. He didn't even look surprised to see me. He just glanced at me like I was the one intruding. "Hey sis," he said casually, turning back to the TV. I froze in the doorway, my keys still in my hand. "Marcus, what are you doing here? How did you even get in?" He shrugged. "Mom and Dad gave me a key. Don't worry, I'm not going to be in your way." The words hit me like a slap. A key? My parents gave him my spare key. Without asking me? My chest tightened, heat rising in my face. "This is my apartment," I snapped. "You can't just show up here like this. And they had no right to give you a key." Marcus finally looked at me, but instead of guilt, there was this lazy smirk. "Relax. It's not that deep. I just needed a place to crash for a while. You've got space." Crash? Like my home was some motel? My stomach twisted with anger. I'd worked so hard for this place, paid every bill myself, struggled through late nights just to keep it. And here he was, acting like it meant nothing. "You need to leave," I said firmly. "Now." He leaned back, stretched his arms, and said, "Wow. Selfish much? You're really gonna kick your own brother out?" "I'm family, Danielle. Family helps family." My heart pounded. "Selfish?" I bit my lip hard, holding back the explosion in my throat. Just then my phone buzzed. It was Mom. Before I could even say hello, her voice came sharp through the line. "Danielle, I hope you're not giving Marcus a hard time. He's been through enough. Let him stay until he gets back on his feet." I couldn't believe it. "Mom, this is my home. You didn't even ask me before giving him the key. Do you realize how wrong that is?" Her tone softened, but it was laced with guilt. "Sweetheart, you have to stop being so rigid. Marcus just needs support. You've always been the strong one. Can't you show a little compassion?" My throat went dry. Strong one. Responsible one. The one who always carried the weight. And now they were asking me to give up the only thing I had that was truly mine. I looked at Marcus again, sprawled across my couch, smiling faintly like he'd already won. At that moment, the air in my apartment didn't feel like mine anymore. That's when it sank in. This wasn't just about Marcus. This was about my parents choosing him, yet again, over me. Growing up, I learned early what responsibility meant. While other kids spent their afternoons playing outside, I was helping Mom cook, watching Marcus, and making sure the house stayed in order. By the time I was 16, I was working part-time jobs after school just to save a little money. Nobody asked me to, but I felt like I had no choice. If something needed to be done, everyone turned to me. College was the same story. My parents couldn't afford much, so I put myself through school. I worked nights at a diner, mornings at a bookstore, and squeezed classes in between. It wasn't easy, but I pushed through. I told myself every long night was worth it, that one day I'd finally stand on my own. And I did. I became the first in my family to graduate, the first to move out, and the first to live in a place that was completely mine. My apartment wasn't fancy. Just 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, and walls that sometimes felt too close. But it was mine. Every bill, every piece of furniture, every crack in the ceiling. I paid for it, I chose it, I owned it. For me, it was more than just a home. It was proof that all the years of sacrifice hadn't been for nothing. It was my safe space, the one corner of the world where I didn't have to answer to anyone. Marcus was the opposite of me in every way. He was charming, quick with jokes, the type who could talk his way out of anything. Teachers used to say he had potential, but potential never paid the rent. He bounced from one job to another, never lasting more than a few months. When things went wrong, there was always a story, a boss who didn't understand him, co-workers who were jealous, a system stacked against him. And my parents, they ate it up. Every time Marcus fell, they were right there to soften the landing. I loved him because he was my brother, but that love was tangled with resentment. While I was struggling to pay tuition, Marcus was out with friends, borrowing money he never paid back. While I dragged myself out of bed to catch early shifts, he slept until noon and claimed he was figuring things out. And when I asked why they let him get away with so much, my parents would just say, "He'll find his way." You have to understand him. It wasn't that they didn't love me. They did in their way. But their love often came wrapped in expectations. I was the strong one, the dependable one, the one who didn't need help. And because of that, my struggles were invisible to them. They never saw the nights I cried in my room out of exhaustion. They never noticed how lonely it felt to always be the one holding things together. Sometimes I wondered if they even knew me beyond the role I played. To them, I wasn't Danielle, the woman who dreamed of traveling, who loved reading late at night, who wanted more than just survival. To them, I was the pillar, the steady rock they could lean on. And Marcus was the fragile one who needed to be protected, no matter how many times he messed up. That's why my apartment mattered so much. It wasn't just four walls. It was freedom. It was the one place where I didn't have to share, compromise, or carry someone else's burden. I could come home, close the door, and breathe. Nobody could take that from me. Or at least, that's what I thought. Now, with Marcus sitting on my couch, acting like he belonged there, all those years of sacrifice felt like they were being erased. My parents didn't see it that way. To them, it was simple. Marcus needed help, and I was supposed to give it. But to me, it was more than that. It was my life, my peace, my hard work, being treated like it didn't matter. And the worst part? Deep down, I knew this wasn't the first time they had chosen him over me. It had always been Marcus first, Danielle second. Only now, the difference was that it wasn't just about feelings or attention. It was a Thursday night, and I was dragging myself home after another long day at work. My head was pounding, and all I wanted was silence. But even before I reached my floor, I could hear it. Loud music shaking the walls, laughter spilling into the hallway. I frowned. My neighbors had never been the noisy type. Then I saw the door. My door. Wide open. My heart dropped as I stepped inside. Strangers were everywhere, draped over my couch, leaning against my kitchen counters, drinks in hand. The air was thick with the smell of alcohol and sweat. My coffee table was covered in empty bottles. Someone had spilled something sticky across the rug I'd saved for months to buy. And there, in the middle of it all, was Marcus. He was standing with a drink raised in his hand, laughing like he didn't have a care in the world. The anger rose so fast it shook my voice. What the hell is going on here? The room went quiet for a second, people turning to look at me. Marcus smirked, unfazed. Relax, sis. It's just a little get-together. Get-together? My voice cracked. This is my apartment. Who are all these people? He shrugged. Friends. Don't worry, they'll be gone soon. I stepped forward, pushing past strangers who smelled like beer and smoke. No. Everyone needs to leave. Now. Some people started moving toward the door, but Marcus held up his hand. No one's leaving. Chill, Danielle. You're overreacting. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My living room, my safe space, looked like a frat house. My stomach twisted when I saw one of my picture frames shattered on the floor, the glass scattered like pieces of my patience. I turned on him, shaking with rage. Get them out, Marcus. Right now. And you pack your stuff. You're done here. But he just leaned back against the wall, sipping his drink like he was the king of the place. You're not kicking me out. Mom and Dad already said I could stay here. This is my home too. The words cut deep. My fists clenched at my sides. This is not your home. You don't pay for anything here. You don't respect me. You don't even ask. Before he could answer, my phone buzzed. Mom's name lit up the screen. I swiped to answer, my voice sharp. Do you know what's happening right now? Marcus has strangers in my house. Her sigh came heavy on the other end. Danielle, please. He's just blowing off some steam. Don't make such a big deal. Not a big deal? My things are broken. My place is trashed. Sweetheart, he's going through a rough time. You've always been the strong one. Can't you just be patient? Family comes first. The words burned. Family comes first. Always the same line. Always for Marcus. Never for me. Mom, he's stealing my peace. He's walking all over me. My voice cracked, but she stayed calm, almost dismissive. You're being too hard on him, she said softly. He has nowhere else to go. Don't be selfish. That word again. Selfish. As if protecting my own home made me the villain. I lowered the phone, staring at Marcus, who was now grinning like he knew he'd won. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just about a party. This wasn't just about Marcus being careless. This was about every single time my parents had chosen him over me. Every excuse they'd made for him. Every burden they'd dropped on my shoulders. Every moment I'd been told to understand. I stood there in my own apartment, surrounded by strangers, my parents' voice echoing in my ear, and I realized something painful. It wasn't just Marcus invading my space. It was my family taking away the only thing that was mine. And in that moment, I felt trapped, like no matter how hard I worked, I would always be second to him. The days after the party felt like a blur I couldn't escape. Marcus didn't just stay. He settled in like the apartment had always been his. My fridge, once stocked with meals I carefully planned for the week, was now half empty by the time I came home from work. Leftovers disappeared. Groceries I paid for were eaten without a second thought. I'd open the fridge late at night, looking for the dinner I'd saved, only to find scraps or nothing at all. It wasn't only the food. Women started showing up. Some stayed late into the night, their laughter echoing through the thin wall. A couple even used my shower, leaving their things scattered in the bathroom. I couldn't walk into my own living room without feeling like a guest in someone else's house. I tried to talk to Marcus. One evening, when I found him sprawled on the couch scrolling through his phone, I said, Marcus, this has to stop. You're eating my food, bringing strangers into my home. This isn't okay. He didn't even look up. You act like you're starving. Don't be so stingy. It's just food. Stingy. My voice trembled. Do you know how hard I work for this? Every dollar, every meal, it's mine. You don't contribute anything. Finally, he looked at me, his face twisted with annoyance. You're just jealous. You hate seeing me comfortable. Admit it. Jealous? Of what? Of having my life invaded, of someone draining me dry? His words sank in like poison. It was the kind of insult meant to twist the knife, to make me question myself. When I called my parents that night, hoping for support, the response was the same as always. Danielle, my dad said with a heavy sigh, he's your brother. He just needs time to figure things out. Don't be so dramatic. Dramatic? He's living off me. He's disrespecting me in my own home. Mom's voice chimed in, softer but no less hurtful. Honey, you're overreacting. You always think the worst of Marcus. If you just gave him some space, things would get better. I hung up feeling small, like maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was too harsh, too rigid. Maybe I should be more patient. But then I'd look around, the dishes piled high in the sink, my rent paid with my own hard-earned money while Marcus contributed nothing, and I knew deep down I wasn't wrong. I just wanted respect. At work, the stress began to show. My manager noticed I was distracted during meetings. A colleague pulled me aside one afternoon. You okay? You seem off lately. I forced a smile. Just tired. But the truth was I was running on fumes. The one place I was supposed to recharge had become a battlefield. I dreaded going home, but I had nowhere else to go. One night, I came home earlier than usual. As I reached my door, I heard Marcus's voice inside. I froze, listening. Yeah, man, he was saying to someone, his voice filled with pride. This place is basically mine now. My sister doesn't mind. She knows I've got nowhere else to go. Laughter followed, casual and cruel. My stomach churned. He wasn't just freeloading. He was bragging about it. My face burned with humiliation. To him, I wasn't his sister who sacrificed for years. I was just a doormat, someone to use until he got bored. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy with anger and confusion. My parents' words echoed in my head. Be patient. Family comes first. You're overreacting. But was I? Was it really selfish to want peace in my own home? To want boundaries? To want to feel safe in the place I worked so hard for? The more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just losing patience, I was losing myself. My life, my space, my sense of control, all slipping through my fingers. And Marcus, with his smirk and careless words, was taking more each day. It wasn't only about him anymore. It was about my parents always choosing his comfort over my well-being. About years of being the strong one while they excused his failures. About never being seen, never being protected, never being heard. Every time Marcus opened his mouth to insult me, every time my parents brushed off my pain, a piece of me cracked. And now, I could feel the cracks spreading, threatening to break me completely. It happened on a Saturday morning. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, paying bills like I did every month. But when I opened my bank account, my stomach dropped. The balance was lower than it should have been, much lower. I scrolled through the transactions, and that's when I saw it. Charges from the corner store, the liquor shop, takeout places I hadn't been to. My card had been used. At first, I thought maybe it was fraud. My hands shook as I grabbed my wallet and pulled out my debit card. But it was still there, intact, untouched. That's when the truth hit me. Someone in the apartment had gotten hold of my card number, and there was only one person careless enough, shameless enough, to do it. I stormed into the living room where Marcus was lounging, his feet up on the coffee table, a half-eaten sandwich in his hand. Marcus, I snapped, holding up my laptop screen. Did you use my card? He looked up slowly, chewing like he had all the time in the world. Yeah, I borrowed it. Borrowed. The word made my skin crawl. You what? My voice rose, breaking. That's my money. You can't just take my card and spend like it's nothing. He rolled his eyes. Calm down. It was just a couple of things. I'll pay you back. My hands were trembling. A couple of things? You drained almost $300. Rent is due next week. Do you have any idea what you've done? He smirked. Stop being dramatic. You've got a job. You'll be fine. Something in me snapped. I shouted so loud it startled even me. Get out. Get out of my house right now. Marcus stood up, squaring his shoulders, his face turning hard. No, I'm not going anywhere. Mom and Dad already said I could stay as long as I need. The words hit me like a punch. I staggered back, gripping the wall. What did you just say? Before he could answer, my phone buzzed. Mom again. Almost as if she'd been waiting for this call. I answered with shaking hands. Did you tell Marcus he could stay here permanently? Her voice was calm, like she'd rehearsed it. Yes, Danielle. We thought it would be best. He needs stability, and you have the space. My mouth went dry. You decided that without asking me? This is my apartment. My life. Dad's voice came in then, firm and cold. Danielle, you need to stop making everything about yourself. Marcus is your brother. He needs you. Why can't you be more supportive? Supportive. That word felt like a knife. I screamed into the phone, my voice cracking. He stole from me. He's destroying my home. And you're siding with him? Silence, then Mom's voice again, soft but sharp. You're being selfish. Money can be replaced. Family cannot. I stared at Marcus, who was now smirking like he'd won. My parents' voices buzzed in my ear, defending him, accusing me. In that moment, I felt something collapse inside me. They weren't just ignoring my pain, they were betraying me. All the years I had carried the weight, all the sacrifices I had made, none of it mattered. To them, Marcus would always come first. I hung up the phone and dropped it on the floor. My whole body shook, my chest heaving with rage and heartbreak. I screamed at Marcus, my voice raw. You've taken everything from me. My money, my home, my peace, everything. And they let you. They let you. For once, he didn't have a smug reply. He just stood there, watching me like I was crazy. But I wasn't crazy. I was furious. I was broken. And then, like a spark in the middle of the fire, a thought formed in my mind. Clear. Sharp. Final. I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep letting them walk over me, take from me, decide for me. If they wanted Marcus so badly, they could have him. But not here. Not in my space. Something inside me hardened. My rage turned into resolve. For the first time, I wasn't going to argue or beg for respect. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes from crying, but my mind was clear. I couldn't let this continue. If Marcus and my parents wanted to paint me as selfish, then fine. I would rather be selfish than destroyed. I started with the locks. I called a locksmith, and within an hour, the spare key my parents had given Marcus was useless. As the man drilled and replaced the locks, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: control. It was a small sound, that sharp click of a new lock turning, but to me it was freedom. Then I went to the police station. My voice shook as I explained what had happened, how my brother had taken my debit card and spent my money without permission. The officer listened carefully and wrote it all down. Filing that report wasn't easy. It felt like crossing a line that couldn't be undone. But it was necessary. Marcus needed to know there were consequences, and I needed to remind myself that I wasn't powerless. When Marcus showed up later that day, rattling the door handle and shouting, I didn't flinch. He banged on the door, yelling curses, demanding to be let in. This is my place too. You can't do this. I stood on the other side, my hands steady for the first time. You don't live here anymore, Marcus. You never did. The shouting went on until finally he gave up. An hour later, my phone buzzed with calls from my parents. I answered once, and their voices came sharp and angry. How dare you treat your brother this way? Mom cried. We raised you better than this. Dad's tone was colder. If you put Marcus out, don't expect help from us. You're cutting yourself off from your family. My chest hurt hearing those words, but deep down I realized something. I had been cut off for years already. Not in name, but in action. Every time they ignored my feelings, every time they chose Marcus over me, they had been showing me where I stood. So I said calmly, then that's how it has to be. I won't sacrifice myself anymore. And I hung up. The silence afterward felt heavy, but also freeing. For once, the decision was mine. The weeks that followed weren't easy. The guilt came in waves, the voices of my parents echoing in my head. But I started therapy, and it helped me see that setting boundaries wasn't cruelty. It was survival. I began reaching out to old friends I'd lost touch with, people who cared about me without conditions. Slowly, I rebuilt my circle, piece by piece. Coming home each night was different now. The apartment was quiet again, but it wasn't the heavy silence of loneliness. It was peace. My things stayed where I left them. My fridge held food I bought and no one else touched. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe deeply in my own home. I realized then that family doesn't always mean safety. Family doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being for someone who takes, and takes without giving back. Family, without respect, is just another chain holding you down. By reclaiming my home, I reclaimed myself. And no matter what my parents thought, no matter how angry Marcus became, I finally had my dignity back. Would you like me to give the ending of this section a stronger, triumphant note, like Danielle smiling as she turns her new lock? I sat on the couch that evening, the same couch where Marcus once sprawled out with his muddy shoes, where my parents scolded me instead of him. The apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet that used to feel like loneliness. But now it felt different. It felt safe. I looked around the room. My books were back on the shelf, neatly stacked. My favorite blanket was folded on the armrest. The little details that once got lost under Marcus's chaos were back in their place. And so was I. I thought about my parents' words, about how they told me family comes first. For so long, I believed that meant giving up pieces of myself to keep the peace. I thought love was measured in sacrifice. But now I understood. Love without respect isn't love at all. It's control. It's chains disguised as loyalty. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing approval. I wasn't begging to be heard. I had chosen myself, and that choice didn't make me selfish. It made me free. I walked over to the door, turned the new lock once more, and smiled at the sound. That click was mine. My space, my rules, my life. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be perfect. My parents might never understand. Marcus would probably never change. But I had changed. I had finally broken the pattern that kept me trapped. As I sat back down, a deep calm spread through me. I was alone, yes, but it wasn't loneliness. It was peace. And peace was worth everything I had given up to claim it. I whispered to myself, family without respect is just another chain. And I don't wear chains anymore. Hey besties. Thanks so much for watching till the end. Danielle thought family meant sacrifice, but when her brother took over her home and her parents sided with him, she realized respect matters more than blood. She chose herself, found peace, and broke free from toxic chains. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share,